From IEBC, moments after the swearing-in of a tribunal formed to investigate the conduct of 4 IEBC commissioners. Also tonight,
but I'm fearing for Kenya. I'm fearing for my country. We have to stand up now because later it will be too late.
Azimio leader Raila Odinga rallies his supporters to turn out for consultative meetings beginning next week. Plus, a looming maize deficit.
Pia inashangaza tunaambiwa kwamba chakula chenyewe kinatoka Mozambique. Kwamba mahindi yenyewe yanatoka Mozambique. Mozambique hawakuzi mahindi kwa wingi.
Tunaomba serikali tupatie muda ya mwezi 6 kufika mwaka ujao mwezi wa 5 wafanye importation kama wakulima wameweza kumaliza zao.
Farmers and stakeholders warn of an 86% maize deficit even as the harvesting season kicks in. And on News Court this week,
love is one of the greatest forces there exists.
And love is not just telling the other person that I love you.
Ukishaoa, tupa ufulana chukua uume wa kunda mke wako.
Dan Mwangi prosecutes the matter of marriage and divorce.
This is Weekend Edition with Smriti Vidyarthi.
It's 9 o'clock. David Agondoa is our sign language interpreter tonight. Now, in a day of major developments occurring in quick succession regarding the country's poll body, the IEBC, Commissioner Justice Nyangaya has resigned from his position. Nyangaya's resignation comes at the height of piling pressure that sought to have him and 3 others, Vice Chair Juliana Cherera and Commissioners Irene Masit and Francis Wanderi, removed from office. Well, earlier President William Ruto had placed the fate of the 4 at the hands of a tribunal that was appointed and subsequently sworn in within hours on Friday. Well, the team will now probe into the allegations levelled against the commissioners in the petitions calling for their removal from office. Further, the president had also suspended the 4 pending the recommendation of the tribunal. Nyangaya's resignation now leaves just 3 commissioners to appear before the tribunal if they don't follow his cue. Ibrahim Karanja starts us off tonight.
Slightly over a year after joining the country's poll body IEBC, Justice Nyangaya has thrown in the towel as a commissioner. Nyangaya's willful exit coming after weeks of a push and pull over a decision jointly made alongside 3 other commissioners, Vice Chair Juliana Cherera, Irene Masit and Francis Wanderi, to disown presidential results as announced by Commission Chair Wafula Chebukati. Earlier, President Ruto had appointed a tribunal to probe into allegations of serious violations of the Constitution, abuse of office, gross misconduct and taking sides in a political contest levelled against the commissioners. Court of Appeal Judge Agri Muchelule is the chair of the tribunal. Muchelule was among the 6 judges appointed by President Ruto immediately after assuming office after years of waiting under retired President Uhuru Kenyatta. Other members of the team are Caroline Kamende Daudi, Linda Gaki Kiome, Matthew Njaramba Nyabena, and retired Colonel Said Hamis Said. Kibet Kirui Emmanuel and Irene Ntuta Nchoe are the tribunal's joint secretaries. Peter Munge Murage is the lead counsel for the tribunal, assisted by Zamzam Abdi Abib. The remaining 3 commissioners, Cherera, Masit and Wanderi, will be expected to appear before the tribunal, as are the 4 petitioners calling for their ouster.
We have no choice, so we get good moments when we swear members being appointed to the office, and then we get a sad moment when we have also to preside over the swearing of the removal of members from office.
The tribunal that was formed a day after Parliament recommended its formation, plus the suspension of the commissioners, was later sworn in before Chief Justice Martha Koome.
The mandate of the tribunal, such as this one, that is constituted under Article 251 of the Constitution, demands that you conduct your proceedings in a very transparent and fair manner and without any bias, considering the people who are before you have human rights, therefore they must be treated with dignity, and justice at the end of the day must be upheld.
It's a heavy responsibility that is being bestowed upon us by this nation, and we have agreed that we are going to do our utmost best to keep to the oath that we've just taken.
The haste in Friday's development attracting criticism from Azimio leader Raila Odinga.
Ili wao sasa waendelee ili wateue wale wanachama wapya wa IEBC ambaye itafanya rigging yao ya 2027. Hiyo inafanyika hapo.
It is the first time IEBC commissioners are facing an ouster through a tribunal. Upon receipt of the recommendation by the tribunal in whose hands the fate of the 4 IEBC commissioners now lie, President William Ruto is bound to act on that recommendation within 30 days. Ibrahim Karanja, NTV from the Supreme Court of Kenya in Nairobi.
A story we certainly will be keeping our eyes on. Now, Azimio la Umoja One Kenyan leader Raila Odinga has vowed to tame President William Ruto's administration, accusing the president of being a threat to the country's democracy. Odinga says Azimio will commence public consultation rallies on Wednesday next week, geared towards stopping the Kenya Kwanza administration from taking the country back to the dark days of impunity and injustice. NTV's political affairs reporter Vincent Odwor tells us more.
Opposition leader Raila Odinga came out guns blazing, accusing President William Ruto of trying to plunge the country into dictatorship.
But I'm fearing for Kenya. I'm fearing for my country. We have to stand up now because later it will be too late.
Odinga claims Kenya Kwanza's latest onslaught on the 4 IEBC commissioners is one of the efforts by President Ruto to actualize his revenge mission.
The judiciary has been captured. The criminal justice system is collapsing. That is why cases are rapidly being dropped, criminals being celebrated and turned into prosecution witnesses. The security sector is being targeted and intimidated so that it can be captured. Parliament is half-gone through bribery and blackmail. If all these institutions submit to Oda's schemes, we are in a real danger of losing everything we have fought for and won over the last 30 years.
Starting next week, the Azimio Political Brigade will embark on anti-Ruto public rallies geared towards what they have termed as stopping Ruto from taking the country back to the dark days of impunity.
On the 7th of December, at the historic Kamukunji grounds here in Nairobi, we launch a public consultations with the people of Kenya to brainstorm on the direction the country is taking. Then we will return to Kamukunji grounds on the 12th of December to continue with these consultations on the state of the Kenyan nation and also to have a prayer for Kenya, a prayer for democracy in our country, which is right now under a threat by this administration.
This means there will be 2 parallel national events on 12th this month, which will be on Jamhuri Day, a national holiday where President Ruto will be presiding over the celebrations to mark the day Kenya got her independence and became a republic. The call for a parallel national event by Azimio has elicited different reactions among leaders.
There will be no Kenyans who will be going out on the streets unless they are forced to go and demonstrate over nothing. If they never demonstrated the time that we had the results, Kenyans will not demonstrate now. Right now, they are focused on how they can be able to ensure that this drought that has ravaged the country can be dealt with. We want to know whether the cost of food is going to come down. We want to know how the cost of fuel can come down.
Previous administrations have countered such moves by denying opposition leaders access to their selected venues, and now all eyes will be on Ruto's administration to see whether it will stomach such public rallies. Vincent Odur, NTV.
Elsewhere, 51 principal secretaries nominated by President William Ruto and approved by the National Assembly have taken oath of office today at State House, Nairobi, at a function presided over by the President, his deputy Rigathi Gachagua, and other leaders in government. Now, President Ruto called on the principal secretaries to focus on delivering on the Kenya Kwanza manifesto and maintain diligence and integrity in their job. The President has increased the number of PSs from 26 to 51. Parliament on Thursday unanimously approved the appointment of the principal secretaries. The vetting of Ruto's PSs was delayed following a petition that sought to bar the National Assembly from conducting the process. But the court dismissed the consolidated petitions filed by the LSK and 2 others, saying they were filed prematurely.
You are aware the single critical asset we have as a country is not oil or gold, is not silver or bronze, it is the human capital of the Republic of Kenya. It is my belief that we will marshal all the resources of government to sharpen the human capital of our republic so that we can use it to drive our development, to drive our investment, to drive our agriculture, and to make sure that no Kenyan is left behind.
Education now, and the Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education, that's KCSE, kicked off today across the country with 884,263 candidates eligible to sit for the exams. 7 candidates in various schools in Baringo are doing their exams in maternity wards after they delivered. This is out of 48 Form 4 candidates who are expectant. According to Emi Cherop, a nurse at the Baringo County Assembly, 3 girls had to undergo a cesarean section while 2 of them delivered normally, with 1 discharged. Exam centre managers, supervisors and invigilators have been put on notice to ensure there is no leakage or cheating in the KCSE exams. The TSC Chief Executive Officer, Nancy Macharia, said the government has invested in recruitment and training of competent exam officials. She spoke in Mombasa during the opening of a KCSE exam container in Nyali.
Previously been employing 5,000 teachers every year, so that 1,000 will go a long way in trying to reduce this deficit. Because, as you know, already in secondary schools, that's where we have the highest deficit at 68,000. And this grade 7, of course, now in the CBC structure, joins what we used to call secondary, because it's junior secondary. And therefore, we shall use some of these teachers for the junior secondary, as well as we have some for primary schools. And the rest will go to the 844 as we know it, but that is what TSC, the modalities that we are working on, so that in January we recruit these teachers.
And good luck to all those sitting for their KCSE exams. Now, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has hit out at leaders in the opposition who have asked Kenyans not to repay loans from the Hustler Fund. Gachagua has termed such remarks as unfortunate and reckless.
Nimeona hii watu ya Azimio, Senator ya Azimio huko Nairobi, akiambia watu ya Azimio atuwakope hiyo pesa na wasilipe atuwakule. Sasa si hiyo ni ujinga? Sasa hata Mungu anapenda Kenya. Kama kwa bahati mbaya hii watu ya Azimio wangechukua serikali, si tungezama? If you find a leader anasimama na ni kiongozi amechaguliwa kuambia ati wananchi ati ukikopa pesa usilipe, huyo ni kiongozi kweli? Tunataka kuambia watu wetu, hasa hapa kwa mlima, sisi ni watu ya biashara, sisi ni wangwana. Dawa ya kukopa ni nini? So mkope hiyo pesa na ulipe, ndio ukope kesho yake na wiki ijayo na rafiki yako akope. Lakini hao viongozi wa Azimio wamepotea.
All right, from that to matters agriculture now, and the country will this year have an increased deficit of maize in the ongoing maize harvest season. Stakeholders in the business of maize warn that this year the deficit in the country will hit an all-time high of 86%. Lois Wangoi with the projected outlook.
The conversation about maize importation is one that unrests maize farmers in the country. But according to findings by the Farmer in Early Warning Systems Network, East Africa region maize supply is unimpressive this year, with Kenya hoping to record a deficit of over 80% in maize production. The situation is not unique to Kenya. The report suggests that the region is expected to face a production deficit of around 97,000 metric tons in the market year of 2022-2023. This decline in maize production being attributed to poor rainfall performance regionally. Kenyan farmers are not opposed to the need for maize imports to fill in the deficit, but first things first, they need the government to prioritize their sales first.
So tunaomba serikali tupatie muda ya mwezi 6 kufika mwaka ujao mwezi wa 5 wafanye importation kama wakulima wameweza kumaliza zao.
Lakini kabla tuende huko, naomba kwamba tuchukue mahindi yote ya wakulima, tununue, tuwape na bei nzuri, kwa sababu wametumia implements nyingi sana.
Tanzania, a major regional maize supplier, is expected to have a decline of 20% of their average production, while Uganda and Ethiopia are projected to have 67 and 87 below their average exportable surplus. As such, the report adds that maize prices across the region will remain high because of below-average harvests against the demand of maize in the region.
Tuwape bei nzuri, yani kuwaheshimu na kuwa-encourage ili wawe tayari kukuza tena chakula msimu ujao.
East Africa as a region produces an average of 1 million metric tons of surplus maize for trade, and with expected decline in surplus maize for trade across the region, imports from overseas may be the region's only option to meet the deficit of 95,000 metric tons in the market year 2022-2023. Following the ongoing October-December harvests of maize in the country, the pricing of maize in the country is expected to suffer market pressure owing to the expected importation stocks and recently expected entry of GMO maize products early next year. Lois Wangoi, NTV, Eldoret.
Well, that concerning story takes us to our first break on NTV Weekend Edition. Stay with us. There is more coming up, as always.
On my dark marks, I've tried everything from A to Z, even vitamin C, but hardly any results. Nivea Lumina 630 works from day one, with visible results in just 2 weeks and 71% dark marks reduction in 12. Join the 1 million women already using the #1 Lumina 630 from Nivea.
Ndio tunabeba swag hadi ndani ya pitch. Si ndio the fastest, the biggest, the strongest. They wonder why. Time waliland kucheza ball na nati, sisi tulikuwa mguu chuma. Ball ni sisi na sisi ni ball. It has always been a part of us. We are passionate, so loud, they had to tell us to keep it down. Na sasa, it's that time again. The time for us to step up. Tuwakumbushe why Waafrika wana shine kwa ligi za majuu. So if you love football, love Africa. Cheer Africa. Africa ni sisi.
We asked Kenyan women to tell us what they look for in a lotion.
Leo tunaweka kwenye jaribio body lotion ya bei ghali na ya bei nafuu. Why pay more? Nunua Nice and Lovely body lotion. Ni bora zaidi kwa bei nafuu. Ina transform dry skin kuwa deeply nourished na kui smoothen.
It's just nicer.
and lovelier. Chagua Kenya's #1 body lotion.
Gift your loved ones this Christmas season.
With what?
Optiven is offering you a variety of exciting properties. The Great Oasis Nanyuki, Hekima Gardens in Nyeri, Garden of Joy of Koma Kangunda Road, Abundance Gardens in Konza. Unique and strategic properties where you can build your dream home. For every 125,000 that you spend, either as deposit or installment, we give you 2,500 cashback this Christmas season. Call us on 0790 300 300.
He is a fashion designer, musician, clinical psychologist, and media personality.
I wanted many things, and those things that I wanted, I could not achieve them in Nairobi.
Yes, this week on Daring Abroad, Steve Biko Otieno shares his journey as an artist in the Netherlands.
There is nowhere in this planet that it is easy, and connecting with people here is very hard.
Also on the show, Seattle-based Kenyan entrepreneur Lucy Kinyanjui now starts a consultancy firm to assist Kenyan exporters find their way into the US market.
My consultancy will be assisting in terms of compliance and marketing intelligence.
Centum Real Estate offers you an opportunity to own a home in a serene environment. Talk to us today on 0713 877 777 or text 2 Rivers to 22365.
Did you know you pay for more water when you buy regular softener instead of Downy concentrate? Downy is more concentrated, so just 1 liter can freshen and soften as many clothes as 2.5 liters regular softener. Don't pay for more water, pay for all-day freshness.
All right, a bit of business news now, and the Kenya Revenue Authority has suffered a major blow following the decision by the Court of Appeal to throw out an appeal challenging the High Court's ruling suspending minimum tax. Now, in September 2021, Justice Odunga suspended the enforcement of minimum tax at 1.0% of a company's gross turnover, a tax that sought to net even loss-making companies. Well, in its ruling, the Court of Appeal states that taxing even loss-making entities would amount to punishing ventures that are already battling with a stifled economy. Minimum tax was introduced back in January 2021 as one of the measures by the government to ramp up tax revenue collection. The government has managed to convert 53 billion shillings worth of short-term domestic debt into longer-term debt as it looks to free up more breathing space from maturing debt. The latest bond auction results show that the Switch bond, which sought to convert 87.8 billion shillings worth of short-term debt into longer-term debt, registered 60% performance rate, implying the government received bids worth 53 billion shillings. Treasury Cabinet Secretary Professor Njuguna Ndungu has doubled down on the switch of short-term expensive domestic debt with longer-term debt as he seeks to place Kenya on a more sound fiscal path.
Right now, we don't have headroom for accumulating debt. So in a sense, we have to go down into liability management. But on that is also the topic, the response I've given my friend here, is the whole issue of when you are buffeted by multiple shocks. The reaction is actually to use the resources that you have or even borrow to overcome the crisis.
All right, that is your business news. Coming up next, we're taking a break, but Dan Mwangi is next with News Court. Stay with us.
They say it's in your nature. It's a woman thing. On the outside, it's a light that shines bright. Inside, it's a fire that burns with fight. It's having a dream and pursuing it, making a plan and working it. It's starting a business and owning it, big or small, local or global. We see you, your dream, your reason for being. This is at the core of what we do, raise women and build them for better. As a woman in business, let KCB fire up your female-led and made enterprise, KCB Flame. To find out more, WhatsApp 0711 087 087 or call 0711 087 000 and visit us at any KCB branch countrywide.
Nairobi City, the man of God, Apostle Dr. James Maina Ng'ang'a, invites you to a mega crusade at Jacaranda grounds on 3rd and 4th of December 2022, starting from 2 p.m. Bring the sick and the oppressed for healing and deliverance. Theme: Jesus Christ is the answer.
Pokea mali, pokea upako, pokea mali, pokea upako. Oh, mamlaka, 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 mamlaka.
Strutting your way into my heart. Take your head off, make yourself at home. Have a steady night, then strut on home. Day 1, I'm in love with the strut. Day 2, I'm in love with the strut. Day 3, I'm in love with the strut. And guess what? I'm in love with the strut. I like your strut. Do you wanna go strutting and strutting? You like my strut? Do you wanna go strutting and strutting? You like my strut? Then let's go strutting right now.
Lontavera Disongoshira verera
For an exclusive fragrance experience, try Nivea Men Deep Impact Body Lotion with a long-lasting woody fragrance, deep moisture, and a fresh skin feel. Make an impact with Nivea Men Deep Impact. Nivea Men, it starts with you.
Ruth Wanjiro was married but has now been divorced for 7 years. She shares her experiences and lessons learned, more so as a born-again Christian divorcee. Mzee Edward Okahato from Ihula village in Budalangi in the county of Busia is 87 years old and says he has been married to Rufina Namurembo for 59 years. He speaks from the marriage works side of the matter. Sheikh Hamad Kasim is a former chief Qadhi, and having interacted with marriage and divorce dynamics along his line of duty, he shares his insights on the same in relation to Islam. Judy Thongori is the proprietor of Judy Thongori and Company Advocates, a premier family law firm which, among other fields, offers expertise in divorce mediation. She has over 20 years' experience in family litigation, including children matters, matrimonial proceedings, and succession matters. She gives us the legal submissions. Reverend Chris Mwalwa is the senior pastor at AIC Ngong Road. He is a counselor who is involved in marriage enrichment ministry. He is the East Africa representative of Word of Life, which is a non-denominational Christian organization creating faith-defining experiences that give students and families the chance to encounter God and grow in their spiritual walk.
My lords, my ladies, the Court of Public Interest is in session, News Court. And in this sitting, we are going to prosecute the curious case of rising cases of divorce in Kenya. Yes, Justice Wanjiko, so many of you, of us, are choosing to end marriages before death does the couple part. The reasons are numerous, with comparisons being made between the marriage of today and that one of decades ago. It moves to make for some light banter, heavy as it is. Quote, marriage is a scam, or if you're not married, don't. Or, you're getting married. Why are you doing this to yourself? And some laughter follows, and various other expressions. Now, aside from these, and the banter direction they have taken, this court seeks to prosecute the heart of all this, more so in light of the data that shows that divorce applications are rising. Let's sample some of this data. The number of applications for divorce made in the last financial year stood at 5,604. The breakdown is 3,784 cases filed in various magistrate courts in the country and 1,820 in the Kadhi's courts. This total is 870 more applications than the 4,734 people who decided to formally end their unions in 2020-2021. Now, 3,082 applied in magistrate courts and 1,652 in Kadhi's courts. This is data from the State of Judiciary annual reports for the 2 financial years. While this may look like just numbers we are comparing, it means that in the 2 years, more than 10,000 couples decided to call it quits officially in, again, 2 years. Why, you may ask? Well, Your Honor, the reasons are varied, but let's look at what the law considers grounds for divorce. The Marriage Act of 2014 lists the grounds for divorce under various categories based on the type of marriage, be it Christian, Muslim, Hindu, or customary. The reasons under each are fairly similar, so we sample these. First is adultery. Then we have rape, sodomy, or bestiality, cruelty, desertion, exceptional depravity, which is basically denying your spouse something they direly want. Then there is irretrievable breakdown of the marriage. And conversion to another religion is one of the grounds on some of the religions. What does it mean when the law says a marriage has irretrievably broken down? It means there has been 1, adultery or cruelty to the spouse or any child of the marriage, willful neglect for at least 2 years, separation for at least 2 years, desertion for at least 3 years, imprisonment for life or for a term of 7 years or more, incurable insanity certified by a medical practitioner as incurable or that recovery is improbable. Any other ground as the court may deem appropriate. On the other side of the marriage dynamic, the judiciary report shows that the Kadhi's courts registered 2,917 registrations of marriage in 2021-2022, which is a significant rise from the previous year, which had 992 registrations. Now, away from the data, this court seeks to put people to the data as we seek to humanize these situations. I now invite Ngina Kirori to make her submissions.
Your Honor, the numbers are quite telling, but now we would like people who have been through divorce to do the actual telling. We call to the stand Ruth Wanjiro. All right, thank you so much for joining us, Ruth. Please start by introducing yourself and tell us a little bit more about yourself.
All right, my name is Ruth Joy Wanjiro, headed to 40. I was married for 6 years in 2010, separated in 2015, and finally got my decree absolute, which is the last document you get as you file for divorce, in 2017. So in total, from separation to now, I have been away from the marriage scene for 7 years.
When did things start going terribly wrong in your marriage?
Well, for me, it was from the beginning, really. After dating is a lot of fun. Once I settled into marriage, then we realized that we've got a lot of differences in the fundamentals regarding marriage and even in the understanding and expectations of marriage. You assume a lot that the person you are with wants the same or understands what you want in your marriage until you start living together and you realize your thought patterns, your beliefs on the roles of a wife and a husband, your needs are also very, very different.
And as my colleague Dan Mwangi mentioned, one of the phrases people often use is that marriage is a scam. Do you believe marriage is a scam, having gone through everything you've gone through?
Marriage is a beautiful thing. What I believe is a scam is the traditions, the customs, and the beliefs around marriage. I think everything needs an update. Just like we update our phone, the world has updated, the people in the world have updated. The only facet of society I find that we still insist must remain traditional is marriage. So no, it's not a scam.
And you've heard about all the statistics, how there's such a breakdown in marriages. From your perspective, why do you think so much of this breakdown exists right now, in the past 2 years actually particularly?
We are applying a traditional setting to an institution that has greatly changed. Now, the values and the foundations of marriage will never change. Reciprocity, fidelity, love, the beauty of family, that will never change. However, the players have changed. The women we have now are not the women that were there 20 years ago. The men we have now are not the men we had 20 years ago. The environment we live in is also very different. Technology has brought in a complex situation in relationships.
All right, thank you so much, Ruth. I think it's safe to say there are no further submissions from me, Your Honor.
Your Honor, before we let Ruth go, I'd just like to inquire, do you regret getting married?
Not at all. I was very psyched for marriage. I'm very glad about the lessons I learned then. It was a very painful, divorce is painful, let me just say that. You bleed from anything, and your mind bleeds, your heart bleeds, your body gets sick because of the kind of pressure you're under.
Thank you very much. You may have your seat. Justice Wanjiko, while the divorce cases are in their thousands in Kenya in just the past year, this court is cognizant of the many marriages that have worked.
Mpenda mchana mpana mpenda. Mapenda mchana huyu ni Mungu alifanya tupendane. Nilimpenda mimi naye akapenda yeye. Hakuna angira, hakuna mtu anaitwa Gawadi alinichirutisha au afanye kubali huyu ni mzuri, hapana. Kuona yeye na kuona na mimi ilikuwa sawa tu, kila mtu alikiridhika na tabia na sura mwenzie, basi mpaka leo. Katika ndoa ni miaka 59. Na ndoa ya 59 hii naona tumekaa bila kofi, bila matusi mabaya. Tumefumiliana sana. Akose yeye ambia dayo amenikosea, akose mimi ndugu amenikosea. Hivyo tunaishi vivyo hivyo. Tumeishi na watoto wetu bila mtoto kuona mamaka akipigwa na babake. Hata mambo yetu ya nyumbani mtu aone nje aishiki, hakuna. Wenyewe tumaliza sisi wenyewe kwa wenyewe. Ukifika kuoa, amua vitu vili. Kimoja acha chukua kimoja. Ulikuwa mfulana, ulitembea na wasichana, ulikuwa mapenzi wasichana sana. Ukishaoa, tupa ufulana, chukua uume wa kunda mke wako. Lakini ukichukua mambo mawili kuweka pamoja, haileti hata hiji. Bwana mke ukiona kuona unatembea na mke mwingine hajarani, anaona msarau. Na mke ukiona unatembea mke yote anayetembea naye, haoni bibi yako kama ni kitu. Sababu amemshinda ufahari, ndio maana kamwendea. Mimi nashauri wa vijana hata waume wenzangu, mwanamke yote ukiwa unaishi naye, kuwa mvumilivu kama matatizo ambayo mnapata. Vumilia tu, kuwa mvumilivu, utakula mbivu.
Your Honor, what are the legal dynamics to divorce? What are some of the different insights into the data from the perspective of a legal practitioner? This court invites Judith Ongori to take the stand virtually. And Judith, thank you for joining us. And just right off the bat, what are some of the reasons that people are filing for divorce?
The same old ones that are provided for in the law. That is adultery, that's cruelty, that's desertion, as long as one is able to achieve 3 years of being apart, and then irretrievable breakdown of marriage, the benchmark of which is living 2 years apart.
Are there any reasons that there are definite ways out, and are they being abused by people who know that?
No one gets married to divorce. At least I haven't met anybody who gets married to divorce. So by the time people are getting out, it's because there are valid reasons as to why the marriage cannot be retrieved. Since the Marriage Act of 2014, we now have the ground known as irretrievable breakdown of marriage on the basis of a 2-year separation. In order to avoid washing dirty linen in public, in order to avoid the trauma that comes with making all sorts of allegations against the other, even we as lawyers are recommending that where people can wait, they can wait for the 24 months and at that point then have a clean divorce. Our children are also settled into a new way of life, and so there's a lot of benefit in waiting to go to court after 24 months rather than doing it immediately.
Now, what's the difference between the reasons young couples are giving versus what older couples are giving?
The young people talk about non-alignment. In the older couples, we didn't have that. I think it was hoped that one day you become aligned, even though you are not aligned, you know, at the beginning. But now we find that young people are more conscious about the fact of alignment or non-alignment in terms of the deep issues, you know, like values. And so they will seek to exit a marriage sooner because they recognize that at a certain fundamental place, if you are not aligned, then it's unlikely that many years of living together will change that fact.
Is the judicial system accommodating of divorce? Does it slow things down, allow for, you know, giving time and chance for reconciliation?
So the judicial system has grown and become more sensitive as the society has. Remember, it's also part of the same society. Judges are drawn from our society, magistrates are also drawn from our society. And if two adults come to court and they say that it is irretrievable and they are able to meet the benchmark provided by the law, then the court will help them, the court will ease, you know, their exit, rather than make it so difficult that people spend the rest of their lives and money in court trying to get divorced. So I'd say that the judicial process has also become as sensitive as the rest of the public has become.
So what do law firms such as yours do to help marriages work, if anything, or are you limited to fulfilling the wish of the client and thereby just positioning the case in the best way to win?
The most important decision you'll ever make in your adult life is the decision to marry, because you can never return the clock to where it was. And so many people are affected by that decision. Yourself, because you get into it not just emotionally, not just financially, but even physically. To take you back to where you began is not an easy thing. So if it is something that can be retrieved, it's something that can be worked on, then we would prefer to recommend to people that they see what they can do. And then it's not just you. They're also children. They've been born into this union. They don't know anything else. So in seeking to make this decision to divorce, you are affecting very many people. So that where it is possible to retrieve it, then we recommend to people, why don't you do it? Why don't you go for counseling? Why don't you go for all that? And even where it is inevitable that the marriage is not retrievable, then we ask you, why don't you dignify your family by having an agreed, if you like, an amicable exit, okay, so that you don't traumatize too many people. For me, the people I have met are people who have no choice than to exit. And I should add that there are likely to be more benefits within the marriage, and you're probably talking about financial benefits, than outside of the marriage. Why? Because if you're receiving a certain income from the marriage and you exit, you can't receive that income anymore because the person you're divorcing is unlikely to want to now give you that. Not to mention that there now will be two homes to maintain, you see, because the person also has a home to maintain and you have a home to maintain. So you can never, it's very rare that you would get more than you've been getting within the union.
Thank you very much for speaking to us, Judith Ogori, and for making your submissions to this court. Now, Justice Wanjiko, another group of key players in this ecosystem are religious leaders. Kevin Mutai now makes submissions from that end.
My lords and ladies, Mombasa County's Kadhi's court recorded the highest number of divorce applications. And now let's quickly take the first submission from the former Chief Kadhi, Hamad Kasim.
The leading cause, actually, first of all, is the lack of knowledge, as I said. Lack of knowledge of what the Quran says and what the law says about divorce. Because having differences is normal in any relationship. Even a brother and a sister, or a parent and a child can have differences. Differences are normal. Friends, sometimes they have differences. Unfortunately, people who don't have knowledge about the law is that they think that the only way to solve a problem is to divorce. So lack of knowledge sometimes plays a role in the escalation of divorces.
That's it from me, my lords and ladies. Thank you.
Now, majority of Kenyans ascribe to the Christian faith, and many of the marriages are based on this persuasion. This court now calls to the stand Reverend Chris Mwalwa. Reverend, or Pastor Chris, you've listened to what Ruth has said. What are some of your comments about it? Just some of the things that stuck out for you.
Some of the issues, I would say, speaking for the church generally, guilty as charged, because I think for a long time, and this is particularly true for women, people have been, under pressure to remain in marriages that don't work. Now, don't get me wrong. I believe in marriage. I am fanatical about marriage. I do not encourage divorce, and if it is within my power, I will try everything I can to make a marriage work.
You're a pastor at the African Union Church, which is considered one of the conservatives, one of the conservative churches. In what instances do you support divorce, if at all?
For one thing, there are cases of adultery, just runaway adultery, a lot of spousal abuse. And honestly, there are people who are sick in their heads. No matter what you try, those people belong in a psychiatric hospital. Now, if you want somebody to remain married to such a person, you're not being realistic. Marriage was looked upon by the older generation as so sacred that it was simply, you cannot think about dissolving it. So I think some older couples have stayed in marriages where they would have been better off separated or divorced. But I think the younger generation gives up too quickly. They expect marriage to work right away, but it's a lot of work. There are a lot of adjustments, and some of those adjustments take years. I've been married 29 years. I'm still learning things.
What has made you stay? I mean, because like you said, it's inevitably a learning process. It's got its challenges. What has made you stay until today?
I got married to stay married. 2, I was not in a hurry. I think I married a very patient woman. My people at church think I'm an angel. My wife knows otherwise and still loves me. That, I think, is a major contributor to my remaining married. She didn't walk out.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here in courtly matrimony, or is it parting money? Some manage marriage, some call marriage carnage. In fact, this matter, as a matter of fact, is a merger of tact. Like poetry on primetime news, because see, I use my words to tune you. Call this news courtship. Hashtag marriage works. Kinda has a nice ring to it. Sometimes though, marriage works you into a dark hole. There's a sting to it. Some will have the grace to stick to it, sing through it, even when the music of love turns into discordant tunes of wedding bands. No harmony. Fights about his cash and harmony. Meet me halfway turns into harm only. You ask, did you get in too soon or did you give in too soon? Was it authentic or cosmetic? Was the foundation skin deep? Were the vows lipstick so they didn't stick? Are you getting distracted by that ensemble that holds opinion on that handy symbol, turning sweet nothings into sounds of clanging cymbals? It may degenerate into bangy, fimble, side chick signals. Some have sought counsel, some opt to cancel. They choose to call in Norman. They say he's the only one allowed to put asunder. On a light note, but the dark reality is some have been quoted saying you would have put us under 6 feet of soil if we never got out. The truth is, marriage can be sweet. You can taste it yourself, but you must keep it locked like you ought with a chastity belt. Marriage can work, but so must you. The end.
We asked Kenyan women to tell us what they look for ina lotion.
Leo tunaweka kwenye jaribio body lotion ya bei ghali na ya bei nafuu. Why pay more? Nunua Nice and Lovely body lotion. Ni bora zaidi kwa bei nafuu. Inai-transform dry skin kuwa deeply nourished na kui-smoothen.
It's just nicer and lovelier. Chagua Kenya's #1 body lotion.
There's so much more to life at Crystal Rivers Residences. Just 20 minutes from Westlands, using the Nairobi Expressway. Crystal Rivers Residences offers a bouquet of 3-bedroom apartments, which come with an array of amenities, such as ample parking area per unit, a swimming pool, spacious lounge area, a dining zone that opens up to the kitchen space, inbuilt wardrobes in the 3 bedrooms, including a spacious master bedroom that is en suite with a walk-in shower and restroom, well-manicured gardens, and a mall and school that cater for all your shopping, leisure, and children's educational needs. With our special, easy, and flexible payment rates, you can be sure to own a special piece of Crystal Rivers and call it home. For more details, call us on 0758 503 015. Crystal Rivers, the future of fine living.
Every time I top up using Airtel Money, napatiwa 25% extra airtime.
Enjoy 25% extra airtime or data every time you top up or buy a bundle via Airtel Money. Airtel, the most affordable network.
Sisi ndio tunabeba swag hadi ndani ya pitch. Si ndio the fastest, the biggest, the strongest. They wonder why. Time waliland kucheza ball na Nati, sisi tulikuwa mguu chuma. Ball ni sisi na sisi ni ball. It has always been a part of us. We are passionate, so loud, they had to tell us to keep it down. Na sasa, it's that time again. The time for us to step up. Tuwakumbushe why Waafrika wana shine kwa ligi za majuu. So if you love football, love Africa. Cheer Africa. Africa ni sisi.
My skin is my identity, my strength. It's unique and deserves care made specially for me. New Nivea Radiant and Beauty Advanced Care with 5 oils and 5 vitamins. 48-hour nourishment. Helps reduce appearance of stretch marks in just 2 weeks. New Nivea Radiant and Beauty Advanced Care for your shade of beautiful.
Gift your loved ones this Christmas season.
With what?
Optiven is offering you a variety of exciting properties. The Great Oasis Nanyuki, Hekima Gardens in Nyeri, Garden of Joy of Koma Kangunda Road, Abundance Gardens in Konza. Unique and strategic properties where you can build your dream home. For every 125,000 that you spend, either as deposit or installment, we give you 2,500 cashback this Christmas season. Call us on 0790 300 300.
They have a monumental journey ahead of them, through wind and rain, from one continent to the next. Although some have other ideas. Well, if you're going to fly, you may as well fly better.
Hey, Dad! Are we there yet?
Did you know shorter is better on YouTube Shorts? Stand a chance to win cash or free data every day. Buy the daily YouTube for 10 bundle and stand a chance to win cash or free data every day. Buy the YouTube for 10 bob bundle. Create a YouTube short with a hashtag shorter is better. Best video with the most likes stands a chance to win weekly cash prizes.
You can now
report your motor insurance claim conveniently from your mobile phone in 3 ways. 1. Download RKCRA app from your app store. 2. Use WhatsApp to report a motor insurance claim. Or 3. Dial *352#. Select register a claim and follow the prompts.
New Nivea Radiant and Beauty Advanced Care. With 5 oils and 5 vitamins. 48-hour nourishment. Helps reduce appearance of stretch marks in just 2 weeks. New Nivea Radiant and Beauty Advanced Care. For your shade of beautiful.
NTV Sport in association with new Nivea Deep Impact Body Lotion.
Welcome back. Luis Suarez's heroics in the 2-0 win over Ghana were not enough to propel them to the round of 16 as both sides were knocked out of the World Cup. The Uruguay striker played a major role in both of Uruguay's goals and was in tears after the final whistle after South Korea's 2-1 victory over group winner